Good morning, everyone. If we could go ahead and get started this morning, the sooner we start, the sooner we finish. And I think this is going to be a quick one. So with that, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could please call the roll. Thank you.
Senator Canizaro. Senator Dondero Loop. Senator Keycover. Senator Ratty. Senator Severs Gansert. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson. Assemblyman Frierson.
Here.
Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Here.
Assemblyman Hafen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Here.
Assemblyman Levitt.
Here.
Assemblyman Roberts.
Here.
Chair Carlton.
Here. Welcome, everyone, this morning. Those not here in the room, those on Zoom, and those that are listening online. We have a few budgets to close this morning. If I could just ask the staff to mark those present as they arrive. It's the time of session where people are coming and going between the second, third, and fourth floors to get their bills heard and addressed. So with that, we can proceed with our closings. I'll turn it over to Mr. Leiser.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser, Fiscal Analysis Division. I'll be presenting the State Public Works Division of the Department of Administration's budgets for closing consideration today. Two of these budgets were heard back on February 11th, and the remaining three are staff recommended closings. On page 3 of your closing packet is the Buildings and Grounds budget. This budget provides physical maintenance and housekeeping for state-owned buildings, administrative oversight of the Marlette Lake water system, as well as provides funding for Capitol Police, and is mainly funded through rent charged to state agencies occupying state-owned building space. There's one major closing issue, that's to fund building maintenance projects. The governor recommends $1.9 million from reserve rental revenues to fund building renovation projects in the 21 to 23 biennium. On page 5 of your closing packet is a table that summarizes the recommended projects. This is a standard or typical decision unit that's brought forward every biennium by the agency, and just for those members that may be interested, these projects are typically smaller in scale and don't meet the thresholds that would otherwise warrant inclusion in the governor's recommended capital improvement program. The table on page 5 does list, as I mentioned, a summary of the recommended projects in each fiscal year, identifying both the building in which the projects are for, as long with a description of the work. I would note about a third of the way down in the table, there is a row there that identifies buildings and grounds facilities. That was summarized based on the way that the information was included in the budget accounting, the budgeting system, but the division did provide detailed information, and I would just note that the funding for those recommendations includes various buildings throughout the state, including work at the governor's mansion, a couple of the Department of Motor Vehicles facilities, the Bryan building, the Laxalt building, as well as some facilities occupied by the Buildings and Grounds Division. So does the subcommittee wish to recommend funding to address deferred maintenance and building renovation needs of state-owned facilities with reserve rent revenue of $1.8 million over the 2021 to 23 biennium?
So committee members, are there any questions of Mr. Leiser on this item? Mr. Levitt.
So is this usually paid through the rent reserves? Is that how it usually is maintained?
For the record, Brody Lizer, the maintenance projects that come forward in this budget are typically funded through rental revenues. Yes, is the short answer to your question.
Thank you. You know me so well.
Thank you, Mr. Levitt. Anything else? Want to make sure everyone gets all their questions answered. So not seeing any other questions or comments, I would accept a motion. So Chair Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I would make a motion to approve the funding to address the deferred maintenance and building renovation needs of state-owned facilities with reserved rent revenue of $1.8 million over the 2021-23 biennium.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dondero Loop. I have a second from Ms. Howdigy. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. Please proceed, Mr. Lizer.
On page 6 of your closing packet begins or lists the other closing items in this budget. I would just take a minute to note there are several technical adjustments as reflected in items 4, 5, and 6. These adjustments align software licenses as well as aligning or removing costs from vehicles that have either already been accessed by the agency or, in the case of item number 5, vehicles that would be accessed if that decision unit was approved. In addition, we received 2 budget amendments from the Governor's Finance Office. The first budget amendment, other closing item number 7, is A215631349. The committee members may recall a discussion that the new Reno Department of Motor Vehicles facility on Double Diamond Parkway, the rent revenue associated with that facility was not included in the budget as recommended by the governor, and this budget amendment addresses that and adds the facility to the rent schedule along with the associated rental revenue. The second budget amendment, other closing item 8, budget amendment A215681349, was submitted sort of the other side of the scenario, to eliminate rental revenue that's associated with the governor's recommendation to relocate the Department of Taxation and the Cannabis Compliance Board from the Grant Sawyer building to a non-state-owned facility. I would note that the Department of Taxation relocation is recommended through a one-shot appropriation, and that one-shot appropriation has been introduced in Senate Bill 415. And so this particular amendment would be contingent upon the passage of Senate Bill 415. The decision for consideration is on page 7 of your closing document, and fiscal staff would recommend that other closing items 1 through 3 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing items 4 through 6 be closed with the technical adjustments noted. Other closing item 7 be closed as amended by the governor. Other closing item 8 be closed as amended by the governor and contingent upon the passage of Senate Bill 415, and request authority for fiscal staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Any questions of any committee members at this time on this one? A couple of moving pieces, but I'm sure the puzzle will get put together. And thanks, staff, for working so hard on this. So the chair would accept a motion to process these items as staff has indicated.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to approve these items as staff stated.
Thank you. I have a motion from Senator Dondero Loop, a second from Ms. Howdigy. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. Thank you very much, Mr. Leiser, for walking us through that one. The next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next budget begins on page 9 of your closing packet, and this is the engineering and planning budget. This budget houses the staff that are responsible for the construction management functions of the agency. Is mainly funded through assessments to projects included in the capital improvement program. There's one major closing issue that was recommended by the governor, and that was for the elimination of a project manager and building construction inspector. These position eliminations were initially recommended as an efficiency measure, and the recommendation was built into the budget prior to the finalization of the governor's recommended 2021 capital improvement program. The staffing levels in this particular budget, are determined by the estimated hours that are needed over the upcoming biennium to complete both existing capital improvement program projects as well as the recommended capital improvement program for the upcoming biennium. I apologize, I keep having problems with my mask. I need a technical adjustment for my mask. I don't think we need a motion for that, though. So I apologize.
I'll hold the senator back on that one.
Happy to make one for you, sir. Happy to make one.
I apologize. So during the budget hearing, the agency had indicated that they had anticipated that a recommendation would be coming forward to eliminate the E600 decision unit as a result of the identified state affordability for general obligation bonds, and subsequently the level of funding and number of projects that are included in the governor's recommended capital improvement program. And however, there was discussion during the budget hearing about the agency's existing vacancies, and that they currently had 10 vacant project manager and 7 vacant building construction inspector positions. The agency had testified that it had halted its recruiting and hiring efforts as a result of the pandemic and the hiring freeze put in place, as well as in recognition of the project cancellations and scope reductions that were approved during the 31st special session. The Governor's Finance Office submitted Budget Amendment A215941562. This budget amendment would in essence eliminate Decision Unit E600, therefore restore the funding for the project manager and building construction inspector positions that were otherwise recommended for elimination. In recognition of the challenges that the agency has had in its ability to hire staff authorized in the budget, however, the amendment did not add any additional positions beyond those 2 position restorations. And in the information that was submitted in the budget amendment, the agencies indicated that with these 2 position restorations, there would be sufficient staffing levels to implement the capital improvement program as recommended by the governor. At the top of page 11 is the decision point for consideration. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of Budget Amendment A215941562 to eliminate Decision Unit E600, therefore retain inspection fee revenue of $490,491 over the 21-23 biennium to fund 1 unclassified project manager and 1 building construction inspector?
With that, committee members, are there any questions? Not seeing any. Senator Dondarelou.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move to approve the budget amendment 215941562 as stated by staff, with 1 small technical adjustment for Mr. Leiser's mask. Thank you.
And thank you. So with that, committee members, we have a motion, second from Ms. Howdigy. Any questions or comments on the motion? I think this is thoroughly appropriate with the vacancies that are still there, so I think we're on the right path on this. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of those members present. Other closing items, Mr. Leiser?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for not offering to go through these, but earlier, there's 3 other closing items, and fiscal staff would recommend that other closing items 1 through 3 be closed as recommended by the governor and request authority for staff to make technical adjustments as necessary.
Any questions from committee members? If not, I would take a so moved from Senator Don Darrow Loop, a second from Ms. Howdigy. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. Moving on, Mr. Leiser.
Thank you,
We're on
ma'am.
our way to setting a record. Let's go.
The final 3 budgets are budgets that are staff recommendations. I'll go through each of the 3 budgets as the subcommittee members are used to at this point, pause for questions, and then address or offer for a single motion at the end for all 3 budgets. So on page 13 is the administration budget for the division. This budget provides oversight for the operational activities of the division and is funded through the allocation of costs to the other budgets within the division. On page 14 are the other closing items, and would just note there's one technical adjustment here to remove the Attorney General cost allocation plan. In conversations with the Governor's Finance Office, what I would just note for the members is that the division has a dedicated Deputy Attorney General that supports Public Works, and that position is specifically funded through an expenditure category, and so through conversations with the Governor's Finance Office, an adjustment is noted here to remove the Attorney General cost allocation as to not duplicate costs. So I'll pause if there are any questions on this budget.
Any questions? Seeing none, moving on, Mr. Leiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 15 is the facility condition and analysis budget. This budget is responsible for inspecting and evaluating the maintenance needs for state-owned buildings. On page 16 of your closing packet, there are 2 other closing items, and just would note that there's one technical adjustment just to align software license costs in this budget. And with that, I would pause for any questions.
Questions? Seeing none, moving on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final budget is the Marlette Lake budget. As mentioned previously, the Marlette Lake water systems administered by the State Public Works Division. This budget is funded through water sales to the system's customers, currently Carson City and Story County. On page 18 of your closing document, there are 3 other closing items for this budget that all appear reasonable. With that, I would pause for questions.
Any questions at this time, committee members? Seeing none. Mr. Leiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on page 19 is the consideration for the 3 budgets that I just mentioned. And I would note I'm going to make a comment that's not reflected on the closing packet for the adjustment I mentioned for 1560. And so, but fiscal staff would recommend that the following budgets be closed as recommended by the governor and request authority for staff to make technical adjustments as necessary. And this would include budget account 1540 for the Public Works Division administration budget, including the technical adjustment to remove the budgeted Attorney General cost allocation plan expenditures, budget account 1560, or the facility condition and analysis budget, including the technical adjustment noted to align the software license expenditures, And finally, budget account 1366, the Marlette Lake water system budget.
So committee members, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I would accept a motion from Senator Loop to close the staff closed budgets as indicated by staff. A second from Ms. Howdigy. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. I believe that takes care of the budget closing business before us today. Committee, the bigger issues will be at a different meeting, and that will be a much longer, more complicated meeting, but we got the top level stuff out of the way today. So with that, the only thing left before us this morning is public comment. We'll give broadcast services just a moment, since we are on a time delay, to allow anyone to call in that's wishing to call in. So we will stand at ease for just a couple of moments. So broadcast services, good morning. Do we have anyone queued up to make public comment this morning?
Chair, this is Michael from Broadcast. The public comment line is open and working. However, we have no callers at this time.
And thank you very much, broadcast services. We appreciate that. So committee members, we've just given you back a couple of hours this morning. That's probably not going to happen again. So with that, thank you all very much for your time and attention this morning. We are adjourned. Health and Human Services subcommittees will be meeting in this room this evening. So have a good day. Thank you.